So this is it. This is the
first time we're together, yeah.
The first time we're all together.
Yes, that's right.
It's amazing, because it's always been two and telephone calls and emails, and now finally
it's happening.
Yeah.
But it seems as we have been together.
Yeah, it's true.
Although
it feels we didn't even realize it.
Well, that's why we didn't realize,
yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So I looked at the emails, at the correspondence from the beginning of this project, and I saw that it was in the beginning of February in 2010 that your beautiful wife Annie contacted me secretly.
I knew nothing about it.
You knew nothing about it. Contacted me knowing that I love your book, Let Me Tell You, to ask me if there was something that we could do around your birthday, your special 64th birthday. And it turned out that I couldn't be there for the day itself, but somehow, I mean, Annie suggested already, I didn't realize it, but I saw in the email she suggested already that we do something with Let Me Tell You. And also in that first email, she suggested that we do something with you, Hans. And literally within a 6-week period, through contact between me and Annie and me and Wiebke, your publisher, it turned into an orchestral piece within 6 weeks. It would be your first piece for voice and orchestra within 6 weeks.
It's strange that you are saying 6 weeks, because I remember it as being a longer time.
It felt like
but
a long
I
time.
remember that Wiebke phoned me and told me about your idea of a piece for you and as a birthday present for Paul.
Yeah, and you had also read Paul's book, Let Me Tell You.
Yes, Paul had sent it to me.
Yeah.
And
because I heard the recording of your Schnee.
Yes, and
which made a huge impression.
You
on
were
me.
obsessed with it.
I just played it every morning. I started the day with an hour listening to Schnee, just a remarkable piece. And then I got in touch with you to say how much it had meant to me, because we'd known each other 20 years ago, or maybe longer ago than that, but we hadn't met for a very long time. So I wrote you about that, and then you wrote back, and then I sent you the book.
Yeah.
Not imagining we would be here.
I didn't imagine that it should develop here, but then I had actually read the book, and Wiebke asked me, out from your suggestion, that I should read it once again with the idea that it could be a base for a piece for you. She didn't say orchestra, but it could be piano or small ensemble. Mm-hmm. And then I read it, and actually you mentioned my piece, Schnee, Snow, and one of the first things I imagined would be a part of the piece was the end of the piece of your book.
Yeah, it's a nice coincidence that the book ends with a snow scene. Yes.
With a snow scene.
Yes.
So it was given to me, and then I read it and was very moved by the book. And the interesting thing is that all the words in the book are the words by Ophelia that Shakespeare had given to her. So all the words are by Shakespeare.
And we were discussing today how to put it into a concise way. And I tried it out on you to say, okay, what you've done in this book is you took every word that Shakespeare allows Ophelia to say in Hamlet, and then you rewrite her story as if she is telling it from her perspective now, today, using in any order or combination the words that Shakespeare gave her. And that is Let Me Tell You. That is the text.
Yeah. Yeah, there are 480 odd words. It's not so very many, so she's very limited in what she can say. Right. And that was the point of the book, to try and allow her to express herself as variously and as profoundly and as richly as was possible within this very small vocabulary.
Yes. And to continue with the trajectory of the story, so within 6 weeks we had this idea for an orchestral piece on Paul's book, with my voice, with an orchestra, and with your music. And then I had been, actually at the very moment that the idea was born, I was working with the Berlin Philharmonic. And as I work with them fairly often, I think it was in the summer, the following summer, I finally had the courage to write to the orchestra and to Simon Rattle with the suggestion that they may want to take the world premiere of the piece. And I checked the emails, so I wrote in August, and December 1st, we found out that the answer was yes. So it was waiting. It was a lot of waiting, a lot of expectancy, and you still didn't know anything.
I still didn't know until we met in England.
But I didn't know that you suggested the Berlin Philharmonic.
Oh, you didn't know?
No, that came as a wonderful surprise and gift that I got this knowledge.
Because for you, this is a return visit.
That's right.
And of course, for me, it was if I should imagine the piece for you and with Paul's text, then it should be with orchestra.
Yeah.
With all these colors and you are carried by the orchestra.
Because it feels like she has a big landscape.
She has a big landscape, and for me, at that time, it was in my mind to do it for orchestra. So it was really a wonderful gift that it turned into this commission. Yeah. And also because I love this genre, of course, through the history. I have heard you singing with orchestra, different things, Dutilleux, but also, of course, we have Strauss' Vier letzte Lieder and Alban Berg's Altenberg-Lieder. And I had actually before also made some transcriptions of some Danish evening songs by a Danish romantic composer for soprano and orchestra. And I loved this sound, and with you in it. And I don't remember if I at that time had found, so to speak, because my idea was to have somehow 7-8 songs, and I found in the book sections which I thought would be a part of this world. Something about memory, something about music, time, and there was also a kind of love song, ein Liebeslied, and then the last song where she was walking out in a snow landscape. And I remember I put it together and tried almost to make it look like verses. And then we met later after the commission was a reality. We met, was it in April?
Yeah, it was March, April 2011.
And here in Berlin actually.
Yes, and we spent hours together in a studio. And it was kind of like I gave you a history of vocal music. And I remember I remember just singing things for you and kind of showing you, the rules, and then showing you who broke the rules and why it works sometimes to break the rules, because I didn't want you to feel limited. And I remember singing the Schoenberg String Quartet for you, and Mahler 4.
Mahler 4, yeah.
And some Webern and traditional, more classical, normal repertoire, some Handel or Mozart. and showing you all the different ways that composers could bend the rules, the bel canto rules.
Yes, and as you mentioned, I have not really been writing anything vocal music. I've done some small pieces back in the 70s, and for me, therefore, it was also a challenge to do it. Also, to in a way to combine music and words.
Can you give an example of how Hans has bent or broken the rules?
For example, on high notes, the rule is always to use open vowels. You know, like an ah or an aw at the top. And I remember specifically showing you the end of one of the movements of the Schoenberg string quartet, where the sentence is "Gib mir die Liebe," and the word Liebe is on a high C. And it's such a striking moment in vocal history for me, because it's so powerful if you really do what Schoenberg wants. And I remember singing that for you, and in my heart kind of wanting you to stretch everything, to expand. And I suppose in a way, I mean, there are many difficult moments in the piece that Hans has written. But I think for me, in a way, the fifth movement, it's not that you break any rules, but everything stretches in the fifth movement. Everything expands, and it's kind of like we were speaking about earlier, that the text of the fifth movement is the present. Mm-hmm. It's when she says, now I don't mind if it is day or if it is night, I don't care, is what she's saying inside. The subtext is nothing matters anymore if it was completely dark or if it was completely bright, because you have become the sun and everything revolves around you. And it's as if she becomes taken over by everything, by the orchestra, by the text, by her thoughts, by her memory, by the music. Everything takes her over. And that it's joyful and it's exhilarating, but it's also quite painful, that movement, because there's always the part of me that sees what is happening to Ophelia, and you see, and perhaps also the part of Ophelia that sees what is happening to Ophelia, that she's heading for a disaster.
Yeah.
But can maybe also, because, you know, Hans said that he had chosen texts, but then I kind of...
Yes, we discussed it, and
I said,
and I remember that
I had some
you had some very good critical points.
Yes, and then I put
and then it was sent. Then it was sent to Paul, and you responded very fast on it. I think a couple of hours after we received it. And how did that happen? Because I wasn't part of that.
Because it came to me, I think you sent it to me by email, and
yes.
then I emailed back to your hotel here. And I knew you weren't together for very long, so I had to work quite, and what you two had come up with was pretty good, so it didn't need a lot of rearrangement. It came out of the...
But you revised it very good, because you maintained what I wanted, so to speak. Mm-hmm. The ideas of time, music, memory, and
well, there are all these wonderful. I mean, it's so.
But then you rewrote it somehow and made it more concentrated.
Well, these words were given to us by Shakespeare, and it's a lucky chance that we have time and music and memory, because a lot of the piece is about that, and love. These powerful words that she has that have a certain meaning, a certain context in the play, and that we bring out and can see in a different way.
I can say one thing. The text is in English, and being in Germany now, actually a lot of my titles have been in German.
Yes, that's
yes.
true.
And somehow the German romantic music from Schönberg, and let's say Schönberg too, has been very part of my universe. So if I can mention the piece I wrote that was commissioned by the Berlin Philharmoniker in the beginning of the 80s, conducted by Hans Werner Henze, was called Nacht und Trompeten, a German title. And then Paul mentioned my piece Schnee, that's again a German title. I have many German titles, but this music, and actually when I talk about Schnee, then it's really a kind of not a snow landscape, but ein Schneelandschaft.
Yeah, you feel it like that. Yeah.
It's a kind of Denmark, a kind of German romantic snow landscape in family with Winterreise or this world. But this text is in English.
And it's untranslatable.
And it
really feels that
it's
has
untranslatable.
to be.
But the interesting thing is I can see that this music is taking place in an English mentally snow landscape. So it's the world of the English words.
And I think the thing that is most special to me about this project, I mean, we've come to, here we are a few days before the premiere. But what I love is that this idea, this project, came from love. It came from a gift that Anne, your wife, wanted to give to you. And out of that core comes a gift to music. And I feel that love and generosity, among everyone that's been involved in this, it's been there all the time. It hovers around the project all the time. And I'm so excited to expand that tomorrow with Andres and with the orchestra and then with the audience. It really feels, I'm so happy to be part of this.
You're right. It's really the entire energy around the piece has been so full of love and flow to, and the core of the entire piece is really ein Liebeslied.
Yeah.
And
a real Liebeslied.
Yeah. And for me, it has been a gift to make it for you, Barbara, and for you, Paul, and to the orchestra. It's been a joy to write it.